Hello, everyone. My name is Noelle Spence, and I'd like to welcome you aboard as I take you on a ride through my financial wellness journey. The reason why I decided to sign up for the Financial Wellness Institute through BCEX is A, I was inspired because I've seen the work of some of the previous BCEX alumni who took part in the cohort in the spring. And B, I needed help with my finances. I'm a mother of three. I'm a business owner. I'm a full-time student, and my life and my finances were all over the place. I needed help with structure and discipline and sticking to my budget. I also needed help understanding how to properly separate and organize my business finances from my personal finances. One of the first things that we learned during FWI was about the laws of financial wellness. The two that we learned about were the law of compensation and the law of sacrifice. Personally, for me, being a business owner whose income and cash flow fluctuates from week to week, month to month, and even day to day, the law of sacrifice is the law that resonated with me the most. Because with finances, if you need to save more money or work towards a big financial goal, you have two options. You can either earn more money or you can sacrifice some things and give some things up to increase your available funds. For me, since I don't have a steady income, it's easier for me to give up things that I don't necessarily need, even if I really want them. So I was able to apply the law of sacrifice to almost every pillar of financial wellness. Savings Day was a fun day at FWI. I learned a couple really eye-opening things that I just never really thought about prior to joining this program. First of all, I was always a good saver. I'm really good at saving because I'm really thrifty, frugal, cheap. So I've always been a great saver. However, I always save. I have two savings accounts, and I save my money in those. And I have a budget. I already had a budget, and my budget listed the various things I was saving towards. But I still was keeping all the money in big lumps in these two accounts. The biggest eye opener was you can have as many savings accounts as you want, you know? So open more savings account and designate them for specific savings funds. Once I did that, it was so much easier to organize my savings, and it was easier to track my savings. And it was also easy for me to track my progress towards my financial goals. So for me, that was just absolutely life changing. And because of that, it motivated me to save more because I was able to really track my progress towards my individual goals. Debt day at FWI for me was pretty interesting. A lot of people are super scared of the two D words, divorce and debt. But I've never been married and I don't have any real debt. So for me, there's no negative connotation, no fear there. I mean, I still never want to get divorced when I do get married, but there's no fear associated with debt. But what there is, or what there was a huge lack of understanding of how debt really works, the different types of debt, and how to avoid it without without just avoiding loans and credit cards altogether, because that was my way of avoiding debt prior to FWI. FWI taught me that there are two types of debt, good debt and bad debt. And good debt are things that basically it's an investment in your future, things that will hold value in the future. So investing in your education, investing in a home, those are things that constitute as good debt. Whereas financing a car that's only going to depreciate in value, or buying clothes or shoes or other things that depreciate in value. Those things are bad debts. So now that I've learned that, I have a different perspective going forward. And so if I ever do need to take out a student loan, or when it is time to buy my house, I won't be so fearful about taking out a loan in those cases. So Debt Day did teach me a lot for the future. Budget Day was quite possibly my favorite day in FWI just because on day one we were asked, what is your biggest issue when it comes to your finances? And the number one thing that I said was, I have a budget. I'm an Excel queen. I love making tables and spreadsheets for fun. The problem is, do I stick to my budget? No. So that was my issue. The great thing is that here in FWI, I learned tips and tricks and skills and techniques necessary for me to be able to truly stick to my budget. Um, Instead of having broader designated groups for my money on my budget, I learned that it's okay to be super specific. I started listing things by individual accounts and individual due dates. And for me, that really helped me stay more responsible and more structured. Um, because I'm the type of person that keeps everything on auto pay. So it is hard to keep track of what money is actually available right now or what's going to be available tomorrow. Um, by editing my budget to make it more specific and more detailed, it has made my life so much easier. And now it's way easier to keep track of my budget and follow it. And now it actually makes sense for me to check my budget often. I've always been into investing. When I turned 13, for my 13th birthday, my big brother gifted me with a stock portfolio and Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, as well as Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. And ever since then, I've been in love. I have stocks, cryptocurrency, a little bit of everything when it comes to regular first train of thought investments. However, I wasn't even aware of the many options that were out there in addition to the types of cryptocurrency and stocks that I have owned in the past. Also, I would say my biggest takeaway, something that's going to earn me a lot of money in the future, is I learned to let my stocks sit longer. I thought letting my stocks sit for 2 or 3 years was considered a long time. Through this class, I was able to learn that leave them for decades, you'll get way more money. And I also learned a huge nugget was to continue to reinvest my dividends every quarter. Usually I pull those out and I enjoy the dividends as spending money. But from now on, I'm going to leave the dividends there, reinvest them, and watch my money grow. It was great to be shown charts and graphs that really puts a picture to the new things that we were learning. So us being able to visualize how our money grows by just simply leaving our dividends and reinvesting, that was just life changing for me. And it made me think about all these years of me pulling out my dividends, how much money I could have been accruing if I would have just simply reinvested. So investment day, pretty cool. Credit day was another day in FWI where I learned way more than I thought I would learn. I'm someone who has good credit, and I'm also someone who used to have terrible credit. When I decided that I had certain things that I wanted to work towards, like buying my dream car and working towards buying a home, I knew that good credit was going to be an absolute necessity. So I did a lot of research myself and fixed my credit over the past few years. So I have amazing credit now. However, I plateaued at some point, and I didn't know why, and I couldn't figure out why. During the cohort, I learned multiple ways to increase my credit score from this plateau. I was educated on the different types of credit. I didn't even know what revolving credit was, definition wise, Now that I do understand the different types of credit, now I know and understand how I can diversify my credit so that I won't be stuck at this plateaued level. Um, I'm really looking forward to seeing how my credit score grows. Since the cohort, I have applied for 3 new credit cards and gotten 3 new credit cards. And for 2 of my credit cards that I already had, I requested higher limits and I was granted higher limits. Before, I used to think that the less credit cards, the better. I thought it was a bad sign if you had more credit cards. During the cohort, I learned that it's the complete opposite. Um, I always also used to pay off my credit cards in full, my balance in full every month. I didn't even know that most credit cards, if not all, like give a grace period. So I thought that if I didn't pay in full, then I would get charged interest every 30 days if I didn't pay in full at the end of each statement. This cohort taught me that I was completely wrong. So since then, I've been able to kind of give myself a break on paying back um, my purchases on my credit cards, which leaves more room to save towards other funds. So worked out great. My main personal objective going into retirement day was simply to learn. I didn't know much about the different retirement options that were out there, especially for someone like me who's an entrepreneur and who doesn't plan on working for anyone ever again. I've owned my own business for years now, and I plan to retire early if everything works out. But my biggest fear is I don't have a 401k. Um, I've had a Roth IRA before, but I had to close it during the pandemic. Are there other options? Those were my questions going into the cohort. Retirement day, I learned about all my options. I learned about wills. I learned what probate is. I learned about different types of life insurance and the uses for them. Because I do have life insurance, but I didn't even really know the difference between term and whole life insurance. I just honestly went with what the salesperson told me to get a few years ago. Now I know my options. Now I can go and comparatively shop and make sure that the products that I have purchased in the past are the right products. And I can make sure that I'm investing in my future the right way so I can leave behind generational wealth for my children and so I can have a nice nest egg for myself when I decide to retire. So obviously I didn't reach a retirement date goal as far as establishing a 401k or a Roth IRA or opening an IRA. However, I did reach my personal goal, which was to simply learn more about retirement options. Last but definitely not least, Mentor Day. Mentor Day was awesome. I learned a few things. First of all, I always knew that in order to be a great mentee, I would have to be available. I would have to make the time to be able to truly put in the work and the effort necessary to grow, in the way that my mentor is leading me. I also always thought that mentors had to be physical. I I have authors who I love. I have, TED Talk speakers who I love, but I never thought of them as mentors. I didn't I have people that I follow on Instagram or Facebook or on Twitter who I take financial advice from, but I never thought of them as mentors. I never thought to really invest time in truly following the materials that they've put out there for the world to access. I would catch a tweet here and there, I'd catch a post here and there, and I'd be like, nice, I'll take that in. I'll read a book, buy a book, read it, nice. I took that information in, but I never thought, hey, let me look up more videos from this person. Hey, let me really follow this person and subscribe to their posts so I can catch this motivation all the time. So I can always take in some more knowledge. I thought a mentor had to be physical. So because of that, I thought I couldn't be a mentee. It was so great to find out I can be a mentee. I can adopt the mindset of a mentee by allowing somebody who I've never met before to be my virtual mentor. Although I would love a physical mentor, right now with my current schedule, a virtual mentor is just what really works for me. And I found several during the cohort. Grant Cardone's always been one. Robert Kiyosaki's always been one. Jim Rohn has always been one of my favorites when it comes to finances and business. But I did find a few more. Um, I did find a few more mentors who I'm going to check out a lot more from now on because there's so much to learn. In addition to that, I have met a few people through BCEX who I would like to thank for being great physical mentors. And although I may not reach out as much, I appreciate you, Coach T. I appreciate you, Steve. You guys are awesome. Which brings me to my summary. All in all, I'd say my three hugest takeaways from FWI is that one, not all credit is bad credit, and not all debt is bad debt. Two, separating and organizing my funds are the keys to my financial success. And three, despite inflation, unstable income, unstable cash flow, little loans and debts here and there, I am the master of my own financial destiny. And I'd like to remind everyone of my favorite money affirmation, which is I am a money magnet. Speak it, believe it, and it shall be true. I wish you all the best. Thank you for watching.